let's do a big book haul together. So this is not even half the books I have to show you guys today, but that's as many as I could lift in one go, so we're gonna go with that. This is kind of a combined book haul of the past couple of months, so we have quite a lot to get into. I'm gonna kind of try to organize it a little bit by genre so it's not a mess, I guess. I have been buying a lot of books. It is my weakness. It is a hobby of mine. I will say I am leaving for college soon, and that means I have to quit my job at the bookstore, so I wanted to do one last big hurrah before I left of buying all the books that I've had my eye on for a while. So that's partially why this haul is so massive. Some of these books I got a couple of months ago and just haven't talked about buying them yet, so this is really a giant combined book haul, but a majority of them were bought all on the same day. Without further ado, let's get into it. So the first thing we're going to start with is all of the ARCs that I have. This is also just a perk of my job, is that sometimes we get sent ARCs to the bookstore and all of the people working there get like dibs on it, and you just get to have it for free. So I went through and I grabbed some that looked interesting to me before I leave. I will preface this by saying that a lot of them have been there for so long that the books are already out. So they are ARCs, but they're available for you guys to read as well now. So yeah, we've got 5 of those to look at. So the first one that I have is the only one that is not currently out yet, which is called The Night We Lost Him by Laura Dave. This one just seemed intriguing to me. They sent us a lot of copies, which to me says that they think it's going to be really good. And yeah, I just did a scan of the back and it seemed like an interesting mystery thriller type book. So I grabbed a copy of that. Then we have The Story Collector, which if I'm not mistaken is also already out. This is by Evie Woods. I know she writes a lot of books about books. Like she wrote a book about a bookstore. That's kind of her niche. But I think it's also slightly fantastical, if I'm not mistaken. So I was intrigued to read this. I have a different book of hers downloaded on my Kindle from Kindle Unlimited that I haven't read yet. I think it's called The Bookshop, something like that. But I just grabbed this one as well because her books have always intrigued me and I couldn't pass up an opportunity to have one for free. Then we have The Paris Novel by Ruth Reichel, if I'm not mispronouncing that, which is, as far as I can tell, just about a girl whose mom dies and her mom tells her, hey, go to Paris. So she goes to Paris and sets up a life there. Yeah, it seemed interesting. I've seen some people buy it at the store and I was like, maybe I want to try reading this. This also does seem like something that my mom would love because she's obsessed with Emily in Paris. So I also got that partially for her to be able to read as well. Then we have Warrior Girl Unearthed by Angeline Booley, which is the author of The Firekeeper's Daughter. This book seemed interesting. I can't tell quite like what genre it is because I can't tell if it has any fantasy elements or not, but as far as I can tell, it's a mystery about Native Americans, I believe. I could be wrong, but that's what I kind of got from this, reading the summary and a little bit of the beginning, and it seemed really interesting. I know The Firekeeper's Daughter is very popular, so I thought I'd just grab it. Last but not least, we have Infinity Alchemist by Kaysen Callender, which this one seemed the most interesting to me. It's a young adult fantasy, I think. Yeah, it's a young adult fantasy. It just seems really intriguing, and I love the cover of this, so I thought I would give it a try because why not? Next, let's talk about some romances that I recently bought. The first 2 that I got were the 2 books that are out of the Gold Rush Ranch series, so Off to the Races and A Photo Finish. I had seen these for a while and had been wanting to buy them, but I told myself you can't buy them until you read one of Elsie Silver's books and know that you like that author for sure. But I did read Flawless this month and I loved it, so I decided it was okay for me to get these 2, even though I haven't read the rest of her series, but I do plan to read the rest of her series as well. Then we have A Novel Love Story, which I bought right around when it came out, but I still have not read it. I did read The 7-Year Slip, loved that book, and I have The Dead Romantics, but I haven't read that one yet. This premise seems honestly really good, so I figured I would give this one a try. And Ashley Poston is now one of my favorite authors after The 7-Year Slip, so I did want to get her new book. And I've heard mixed reviews, but I'm intrigued to see what my thoughts are on it. Then we've got Daydream by Hannah Grace. This was put out early in my bookstore. I don't know why, but it was, so I snagged a copy as fast as I could. I also love this series. I love her as an author. she's very impressive. Also, I love that the girl is a book-loving Swiftie. Like, that is just so iconic to me because that's literally me. But I'm excited to read this one as well. It is a little thicker than the other ones in the series, I will say. However, I have high hopes for this one to be good because the other two I've absolutely adored. Then we've got The Pairing by Casey McQuiston. I am a massive fan of Red, White, and Royal Blue. Also, these edges are just gorgeous. Like, hello? But I am a massive fan of Red, White, and Royal Blue. So when she had a new book out and it had gorgeous edges, I was like, immediately yes. So, add to cart. And here we are. Next, I've got Morbidly Yours by Ivy Fairbanks. This one I had seen around, circulating around Book Talk, Bookstagram for a while, and was always intrigued by it. So when I saw it at the bookstore, I think she finally got officially published, not just indie published. I decided to grab it, and it does have a blurb by Abby Jimenez on the front, so I have high hopes that it's gonna be good. It's also very short, so probably a short and sweet read if I ever do decide I want to pick this one up. Then we've got Play Along by Liz Tomford, which I've heard phenomenal things about. I haven't read any of the books in the series, but when this one came out, I was just like, I need to have this in my collection to have all the books in her series. And after I bought it, I heard so many good reviews and I was like, justified purchase. So I promise I will start the series at some point. That's just, day has not come yet where I've had the urge to read it, but when I do, I have all the books in the series so far. Then I got two of Annabelle Monaghan's books. I have Nora Goes Off Script already, so I figured I would complete my collection with Same Time Next Summer, which, if I'm not mistaken, is the first book she published. Then it was Nora Goes Off Script, then Summer Romance is her most recent one. I thought these would be cute and fun romances. I've heard really good things about this author. I've heard her described as being almost similar to Emily Henry in the way that she writes kind of women's fiction romances. So I figured I would grab that because I love Emily Henry's books. Now we're gonna move on to adult fantasy. First one I have is Five Broken Blades by Mike Horland. This book I've heard good things about from my friend who read it recently and loved it so much. Like, this is her new obsession, so she made me want to read it, and now I have it. Also, excuse me, you're gonna put a book in front of me that has this as the sprayed edges and you're gonna expect me not to buy it? Like, come on. I've also heard it kind of gives Six of Crows vibes, so I have hopes for this one. Then we've got Apprentice to the Villain, which is the second book in the Assistant to the Villain series. I love that the sprayed edges on this match the first book. Like, the first book had purple, red sprayed edges. This one has red with purple sprayed edges, and I just love how they look together. It's so cute. I haven't read the first book, but I do plan to read it at some point, and I just couldn't pass up on these gorgeous sprayed edges. Then we have This Gilded Abyss, which is technically a romance, but it is also set in a fantasy world, so it's kind of more of a romance fantasy book. I saw this cover and I was like, immediately yes, like, that's so pretty. If I don't like the book, at least it'll look nice on my shelf. So I decided to just grab it, and even though I've heard nothing about it, it did have some good reviews from the reviews it did have on Goodreads, so I am excited to try that one out. Then we've got The Black Tongue Thief by Christopher Buehlman. This was gifted to me by one of my coworkers because he is obsessed with this author. His favorite book is a different book by this author, so he got me this one as like a going away gift to read because he loves it so much. So I do plan to read this one soon just to see what the hype is about from him. But yeah, that's one that I've received recently. And the last one in this section, we have Daughter of No Worlds by Carissa Broadbent. I recently finished the Serpent and the Wings of the Night, like the Crowns of Nyaxia series, and it was so good. So when I saw that we had the hardcover of Daughter of No Worlds, I needed it immediately because I have the hardcovers of her other two books. So I bought this one, and I've heard that some people love this series even more than they love the Crowns of Nyaxia series, and those two are both 5-star reads for me, so I'm excited to read this one. Now we're gonna move into all of my young adult fantasies, and this is quite a few books, so we're probably going to be here for a hot second talking about this. Let's get started. First, we've got the Stolen Heir duology, which is a spin-off of The Cruel Prince. I got the box set, as you can see, because I was gonna get both anyway, so I was like, might as well, you know. But I did not love the ending of The Cruel Prince, but I do like her writing, and I had a friend read these recently and say that these were so much better than The Cruel Prince, and just to read them, because I've already read the other series, so I figured I would just get both of them as a box set to have, since they're not out in paperback yet anyways. Then we've got the Twin Crowns series. I am aware there's a third book. It's not out in paperback yet, and by the time I read these, it probably will be out in paperback, so I just decided to hold off and wait. But I have Twin Crowns and then Cursed Crowns by Catherine Doyle and Catherine Weber. I've heard really good things about this. I've heard it's kind of about two twin sisters. One of them's a princess, the other one wants to steal the crown, so kidnaps the princess sister and takes her place. That just seems so interesting to me. Like, that premise is so intriguing, and I kind of love that microtrope, if you will, of the twin sister impersonating another one type thing. So I figured I would get them to read them. And I also love the art of these covers, so yeah. Then we've got Heartless Hunter by Kristen Ciccarelli. I literally have no idea how to pronounce her last name. I'm sorry if I butchered it. I've heard such good things about this book. I have been wanting to read it. I've never read like a witch and witch hunter romance, but I know people literally eat it up, and I've seen nothing but good things about this, so I figured I would just get the hardcover and try it out. Did get lost looking for this because I thought it was called The Crimson Moth, and it's not. But it is the Crimson Moth series. The first person I saw reading this was Rachel Catherine, and the title of the book in Australia is The Crimson Moth, so I got confused. But we got that one, and I love the cover of it. It's just so pretty. So next we've got another series. We have the Legendborn series by Tracy Dion. I got the first and the second one. I've heard really good things about it. This seems like something that would be right up my alley, being kind of a young adult fantasy that has some romance in it. Also, it has this massive award on the front of it, so I think it's gonna be good. And then this is the Barnes & Noble exclusive of this. The sprayed edges are literally gorgeous, and I love this cover as well. So I just immediately had to get both of them. Then we have Chloe Gong's Last Violent Call, the two novellas. I have literally every single other one of her books in this world, so I figured I would just get the novellas because why not? Like, I have her entire, like, These Violent Delights, These Violent Ends. I figured I would just get these, and then I also have Foul Lady of Fortune, Foul Heart Huntsman. I have them both signed, so I just decided to get this. Also, the covers of these are literally stunning. Like, this artwork is, I have no words. Like, it's literally amazing. And the last books I have of this category are the Daughter of the Pirate King series. I got all three of the hardcovers because, look at that. Is that not the most beautiful thing you've ever seen in your life? Like, hello? They're so pretty. I saw these sprayed edges and I was like, I've heard a couple of good things about this book, so I might as well just buy because they're gorgeous. So, interested to see what my thoughts on these are since I haven't heard much about them, but yeah, I figured I would just get them. They're all fairly short. The covers are all pretty cool looking, and the sprayed edges were just so beautiful. That was all my young adult fantasies. So the last category I have is kind of just miscellaneous, so I'll talk about each of the books that I have in here. First, we have two of Emily St. John Mandel's books. I read one for school. It was called Sea of Tranquility. I absolutely loved it. I ate it up. It's one of my 5-star reads, and I think about it a lot. So Station 11 is her most critically acclaimed and most popular book, so I figured I would get it because if I loved one of her, like, underground books, surely I would love her most popular one, so I got that one. And then I also got The Glass Hotel, which is the prequel to the book that I read for school, which follows a mystery surrounding a different character that was in that same world. So I do really want to know what happened to her. So I got that one. And then I also got just her most popular one to try out as well. Then we have The First to Die at the End, which is the prequel to They Both Die at the End, which I had read and enjoyed the concept of. I didn't love the ending of that book, but I really liked the concept. I really liked the writing, so I figured I would read this one as well. And this one seems like it would give what the other book didn't, if that makes sense. So I'm excited to read this one. It is a lot thicker than the other book, but I'm intrigued by it. And the last two books we have are both by Jennifer Lynn Barnes, both in the Inheritance Games world. So we have The Brothers Hawthorne, which, as far as I'm aware, is a series of novellas almost about some of the Hawthorne brothers that we get their perspectives and everything, which we don't get in the rest of the series. So I was interested to have this. I know people didn't love this book for what it was, but I still wanted to have it and read it because I love the Inheritance Games world. Then we have The Grandest Game, also by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. This is the Barnes & Noble exclusive, so that's why it's all white and pretty. This one, as far as I'm aware, is the start of a new spin-off series from the Inheritance Games, which, if I'm not mistaken, is about like sons and daughters or something of the original people. So it's not in the same perspectives as any of the other books, but it has those same characters and it has the same world, everything like that. But it does introduce new characters as well, so I wanted to get this one. Those were all of the books that I have for you guys in this haul. Let's do a final tally of how many books I bought in the past couple of months. So there were 35 books in this video, which is probably one of the biggest hauls I've ever done on any of my platforms. So I hope you guys enjoyed. If you've read any of these books, recommend them to me and convince me to read them, because I desperately need to actually read the books I buy. Right now I'm buying books faster than I'm reading books, and it's really unhealthy for my growing TBR. So please do convince me to read any of these. Let me know your thoughts on any of the series related to these as well. I always love to hear what you guys have to say about books, and hopefully I will see you guys soon. So I hope you have a nice day, and I'll see you in the next one.